So when we say game theory, what exactly do we mean by the word game? When I say the word game, you probably think of trivial things like that you do for fun, rather than very important interactions between agents in an economy. But really, when we say game in game theory, we really just mean uh, any interaction between individuals. So in game theory, what we're going to study is a strategic interaction between uh, two or more individuals. So how individuals uh, make decisions when their decisions depend on the decisions that other people make. So a game is any interaction between two or more people. So while you can think of simple things like a game of chess or a game of tic-tac-toe as being a game, you can also think of international peace treaty negotiations as a game. So very important things as well as trivial things are all still games. So what we're going to try and do in this course is try to develop a way to study these strategic interactions between various agents. So what constitutes a game? Well, there are several parts to a game. The first part is a list of the players, and we're going to typically represent a player using the letter I. So the little I is your generic player. Then you're going to have a list of actions that each player can take. So if you're thinking about, let's say, a game of chess, for example, there are various moves that the two players would be the player who has the black pieces, the player who has the white pieces. There are various moves that each of these players could make, and those are the actions that they can take. The third important component of a game is information. So what does each player know when they decide what they're going to do? So do they observe what the other player has done? What do they know about what the other player has done? What do they know about the payoffs that they're going to get at the end? So the information is the third important component of a game. The next thing is how the actions of the players lead to outcomes. So the outcomes of the game and how they depend on the actions. So for example, if you're thinking of, again, going back to the game of chess, so based on the actions taken of the two players, the outcomes would be one of three things: white wins, black wins, or there's a draw. So we can map the chosen actions of the two players to one of those three outcomes. And fifth, and finally, the preferences. The game is going to lead to an outcome, but then we need to know how these players feel about the outcomes. Now, for something like chess, it's obvious. I'm going to prefer winning to a draw, and I'm going to prefer a draw to losing. But there might be more complicated games, which we're going to see, where there might be various different outcomes that could happen, and how I feel about those different outcomes is going to depend. And a description of my preferences over those is part of the description of the game. There are two main ways in which we describe games to include all of these various components. The first is an extensive form, and the other is a normal form. In the next videos, we'll start looking at what those are in more detail.